Good afternoon, all of you. Can you hear me? Welcome for these 2-year events. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Bueno, solo deciros que estamos muy contentos y contentas que estéis aquí desde la Bienal.
We are very happy that you're here at this 2-yearly event. We've most of the time seen this square mostly at night, but now we have an excuse to come to this square in Barcelona. And this is the third day. It's not the end, though. There's more events tomorrow. And during the weekend, the events are going to take place in the Gracia district of Barcelona. And we wanted for the weekend to be like a music festival. Can you hear me all right? Can you? Yeah? Okay. And we wanted more also philosophical democracy, technology, cities, contents, as we are dealing during these talks. Now, this is the session on desirable metaverses and virtual realities. And the idea behind it was that one of the most interesting facets to reduce the asperities of the technological world is to include art. And this is why you're here. And we've selected 3 projects that from the artivist approach are going to show the breaches in these digital artistic spaces. I'm not going to say any more. We have very interesting talks ahead, but Pau Alsina is going to be the moderator, who's one of the best to be moderating this debate. Pau Alsina is a philosopher and a professor. He does lots of things. PhD in philosophy, and is also part of the Arts and Studies and Philosophy faculty, and coordinates the Arts Multidisciplinary Group, dedicating itself to arts, science, and technology, and that's why we thought about him to be acting as moderator. In 2022, he was managing the CIAT Technological Symposium, and is also part of the 2-yearly events, not so much for thinking or thoughts, but for research. So, Pau, you have the floor. Please enjoy it, and let's go all the way for these digital desirable metaverses. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Iliana. It's a pleasure to be here within this beautiful square. Thank you all for coming. We have 1.5 hours to discuss this passion topic. It's more a concept than a future idea or a utopia such as a metaverse. It's not a new concept, as you know. The term itself was born in 1992 when Neil Stephenson used this word for a novel designing these spaces. Meta means beyond the universe, and is referring to a parallel reality next to our reality. It's being used a lot recently because of the use on Facebook. That's when we found out that this term was being used, and metaverses is used in plural. They add on to each other, and really we use them in plural to establish the connection, the link between all those spaces. It's for the future. It's being developed right now. From society, and society needs to be aware of that and build it together on a technological, financial, political, industrial level. There are lots of challenges relating to metaverses. And so this is why we talk about desirable metaverses, the ones you would like to enjoy. in virtual realities that we'd like to be part of and be living, and this is why we talk about building them up. As you know, the word or the reason why we're talking about metaverses and the reason that it has become so powerful, it's one, because of the pandemic that emphasized over digitalizing our lives, whether it was teaching from the faculty, from the university, virtual or digital meetings, etc. And this has pushed the digital technologies forward. Secondly, the games as Roblox, Minecraft are an expression of that metaversos space. It was a speculation in the past, but now it's becoming more of a reality in turning into projects. And the third is NFPs and Noxanes that are introducing a way to follow up those virtual spaces that enable lots of things. So these three, I would say, are the main concepts that have popped up recently, and we're going then to be discussing them. But it's a future idea, a utopia for the future that brings hope with new dystopias and utopias. We are here to talk about the arts and the link between society, culture, arts, and together with those future ideas of the metaverses. The metaverses talk or deal with augmented, increased reality, and how they have to do with connected spaces, with virtual contexts as video games, but also contexts that become three-dimensional and become real and have this ongoing aspect and keep on appearing throughout time. Once you turn them off, you'll keep on having them as an event that has happened virtually. So it's the interconnection between those virtual worlds that makes metaverses up. But what kind of metaverses do we want? There are different types. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook use them, but also there are other metaverses that we find across websites that are decentralized, like Sandbox, amongst others, and they are decentralized. Is this going to create one single metaverse? We don't know. We're not sure. Are they going to be moving from one area to another? We're not sure. But it's the link between the virtual space and the physical space. Even linking the hybrid spaces, and these are the pillars that we have to face up to. It is true, too, that we have lots of goals. One is not to repeat the mistakes done with the Web 2.0 mistakes that were done before, try and find the way where some of those values in those desirable metaversal spaces could have them. Some people say that in 3 to 5 years, all digital technologies are going to link or end up in metaversos. Some talk about 10 years, but technologies are running behind ideas. But from the artistic world, from the arts, we have the commitment to see in what way that future is going to become articulate. We have 3 projects, as I said, that are going to be presented by each of the founders, and then we're going to have a round of questions for those who may solve or think about anything that's linked to that, and then we'll have the debate among ourselves. First we have is an uncensored library for Minecraft, and Minecraft done by DDB, and what they do, they present different forbidden documentaries, like in Mexico. The second one is technologies of hope and fear, with over 100 technologies based on data, machine learning, and sold and distributed to mitigate the pandemic and to help societies to go back to normal. And so I find this very interesting. Of course, all of these projects need to be known. And the third project, as Natalia said, Danielle mentioned, is the community Matriu.id that deal with virtual spaces with a human touch and with a theatrical way to put them out, and it's a way of learning in order to save humankind or mankind and their users. In any case, they're going to explain it themselves, and they're going to show us some video clips of what they did a while ago. So without further ado, we'll start with Tobias. Tobias Natterer is a creative director senior of DDB, an advertising agency in Berlin. He studied communication in Germany, and he first worked as a creative writer in this agency. He's part of the staff in DDB and he has been recognized in advertising festivals, and he's going to be presenting the Uncensored Library project, as I said before.
Thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Toby, and I'd like to present to you a project I've been doing in 2020, and it's called the Uncensored Library for Reporters Without Borders. So basically, Reporters Without Borders, they approached us with a challenge, and they said, hey, we are an NGO that's fighting for press freedom in the world, and we are reaching a lot of politicians and other journalists and so on, but the one target group that's really hard for us to reach is young people. We've been trying in the past, but our topic is a bit political and difficult to understand, and we would like to find a way to approach them and reach them. So we were sitting down and we were wondering, okay, difficult political topic. How can we bring this across? And also, what Reporters Without Borders wanted is, in particular, reach young people in countries with press censorship, where there's not you can't just go on social media, on the normal media, and do an awareness campaign. So we on the one hand had to find a way to make this interesting for them, and on the other hand find a way to reach them in the first place. So what we knew was, in a lot of countries with heavy press censorship and also heavy online censorship, there are large gaming communities, and we thought this is interesting. So obviously a lot of people who cannot access the normal news can still access computer games. So we thought, why not tap a bit more into this and research what we can do here. And we stumbled across Minecraft books, and we thought this is interesting. Okay, there's a computer game that has books. We can write them and we can share them with other community members, and these Minecraft books can actually hold quite a lot of content. They have 100 pages. There's an equivalent text amount of 12 A4 pages, 12 point script. We thought this very interesting, and we thought a bit more about this. And from this step, the step to building a library was not far. And this is how we approached it. And we thought, okay, let's build a library. But I brought a film, and I think this explains the project the best, summing up the Uncensored Library.
censorship, blockages, internet surveillance, and incredibly restrictive laws.
Orta Doğu'da basın özgürlüğü hiç bu kadar kötü olmamıştı.
I'm Yulia Berezovskaya. I run Graniru, which is blocked in Russia.
My name is Nguyen Van Dai. I am a news broker from Vietnam. I was sentenced 15 years in prison.
Benim adım Hatice Cengiz. Cemal Kaşıkçı'nın nişanlısıyım.
Freedom of speech is important because we need to inform young people about the real political situation around the world.
The Uncensored Library is a bold use of Minecraft. It really encapsulates everything that's great about this game and the community that it's created.
As I look at this gorgeous uncensored library, I feel like this is what we should be doing.
Dünyadaki bütün insanların özgürce bilgiye ulaşmasını istiyorum.
The only real way of fighting censorship is sharing and spreading what is being censored.
So, thank you. Circling back to the topic of this talk, desirable metaverses, we had the same idea, or basically we're facing a problem where we were asking ourselves, okay, now we have books, and it's not really entertaining books. It's not like fantasy, or it's like very political news or censored news. And we have a library, so basically just like a more or less boring building. How are we going to motivate young people to actually go there and read a book that they would normally probably not do? And at the same time, they're in a game where we are actually having a lot of a game experience that is very, very entertaining for them. Why should they go to a library and read a book? So we really had to ask ourselves the question, how can we create a desirable experience so young people would come to us and read a book with news? So we really started to think, okay, we had a look, okay, in Minecraft there's a lot of very impressive buildings, so it was really hard for us to say, okay, if we want to be impressive, we really have to go big. So we've approached a building studio and told them, okay, imagine building one of the biggest buildings that has ever been built in Minecraft. And so they said, you're crazy, but let's try. And actually, you cannot put one more stone on the library because it maximizes the building height of Minecraft. And if you switch on the clouds in the game, the clouds the clouds would actually go through the middle of the library, because we really tried to build it that big. And by making it as impressive as possible for the gaming community, they actually were quite amazed by the sheer size of the building, which was the first incentive for them to say, okay, let's check it out. This is something I'm not seeing every day. So second of all, we thought, okay, we are having certain countries, but if we are just placing books in rooms that all look the same, like usually a library would look like, it might not be a very nice, immersive gameplay experience for them. So we really sat down and tried to transport the information that were in the books also in a gameplay experience, in a room design. So, for example, in Belarus, we built a huge firewall around a server. In Vietnam, we built a maze that was actually working, because we said, okay, in Vietnam, the government tries it as hard as possible for its citizen to reach independent information. In Saudi Arabia, we built a huge cage because there's a lot of journalists in prison. For Russia, we built a huge data kraken, because Russia is trying to control all the data and control the internet, and so on and so on. So when each room they would enter, they on the one hand would find the information in books, but they would also find a let's say statue or a room design, a gameplay experience that would highlight the content and would make it more approachable for them to engage these topics. Then here, for example, an example, Yulia Bereskovskaya from Russia, we took her text, and then we did a whole design about a room, tried to have the information from the text also transported in a game design, and then had the data kraken built, just as an example of how the information comes together with the building of the virtual space. But then we also saw that we want to give the library its own design. So in Minecraft, you have to imagine there's like everything is a cube, and each cube has let's say pictures on each side. So you can just replace these pictures and basically design your own cubes. So this is what we did. On the left side, you can always see the original Minecraft design, and on the other side, we did our own design, for example, for lecterns, or we designed our own bookshelves. We put pictures of journalists in the Minecraft pictures, so that gamers who would go to Minecraft every day would suddenly find a new Minecraft, or let's say a unique library design Minecraft. And yeah, also I think 2 days before the launch, we faced a problem. We found out that we had 2 Arabic countries, and Arabic script could not be displayed in Minecraft books. And we were really thinking hard, what could we do? And then eventually we found out that Minecraft also has record players. We could basically like speak these books as audiobooks, replace the music on discs, and then have audiobooks about this journalism inside the library, which was also like a new game experience for communities to discover. Or let's say what they really liked is how we use the things that are possible with Minecraft in an innovative way to bring the library a bit more to life. To highlight a bit more how we did it, I brought a second film. It's a making of that taps a bit more into how we use the gameplay and try to create an experience that would fascinate the gaming experience.
Look at this place, dude. Look at this place. I don't understand how you put together a build like this.
We wanted to find a creative way to bypass online censorship in oppressive countries and bring independent journalism back to young people, but also fascinate them about a difficult topic such as press freedom.
Minecraft is the perfect platform for a project like this. The game has 126 million monthly players, is accessible everywhere, and players can build their own worlds with Lego-like blocks. This allowed Reporters Without Borders to use Minecraft books that can be freely written to republish articles from censored journalists in a huge virtual library. The challenge was to build an impressive and fun gameplay experience that would interest a demanding gaming community. It needed to be a bold use of Minecraft to engage a young audience with such a political topic.
The project's website was important to give background information about the project and raise awareness for our cause. Visitors could also find an interactive walkthrough accessible for everyone who doesn't play Minecraft.
Not something I would have thought about, but pretty incredible use of Minecraft's in-game resources. I hope that it makes a difference in the world. Pretty powerful stuff. Really cool.
We need to give young people back their human right to access information.
So, yeah, circling back to desirable metaverses, if we have to ask ourselves the question, how can we make the metaverse become more desirable? I often had clients or people approaching me or telling me, hey, it would be really cool to do something with gaming or do something with metaverse. Basically, often I see that it's just been used for its PR value. People build something in the metaverse, but they don't really ask themselves, why would anybody want to go there? And the same question also with the uncensored library that we had in the beginning, why would anybody want to go there? And I think it's important to do this change of perspective, where we don't ask ourselves, why do we want to be there and what do we want to show there, but really to ask ourselves, why would people actually want to go there and hang out there? What is the gameplay experience, or in general the user experience that they have there? And some of these things we also had to find out during the project. For example, when the library has launched, I found out that some of the player kept coming every day and again and again. And at some point I approached them and asked them, so, hi, I've seen you've been here every day for 2 weeks. I mean, there is some books and there's some content, but I mean, honestly, what are you doing here? And they told me, no, we meet here with our friends. It's like we like to hang out here. It's like a meeting space, and we play hide and seek in the gardens. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's like a small community started to form around the library, and it became more and more people who just came there every day to just hang out. And I thought this was interesting, and something that if we want to create a metaverse that actually works, we have to create spaces that people actually want to go and that they want to hang out, and where something is happening and where they can actually meet real people, where they can meet their friends, where they can have interactions. And I think this is also my closing statement. If we want to make the metaverse desirable, and if we want it to actually work, then we have to fill it with life. We have to fill it with real people, and really ask ourselves, what is it that is happening there? Is it can there be concerts, exhibitions, talks? And it needs to be, it needs to be filled with something that I can discover. And in my opinion, we have to think user experience before just doing something to happen in the metaverse, because it's a cool PR stunt. And yeah. This is what the Uncensored Library to some extent did. It created a space where people could not play a game, but where they could meet, where they could discuss, where they could inform themselves. It's still online. You can check it out in Minecraft if you want, but if you don't play Minecraft, just go on the website, uncensoredlibrary.com, and they can also have a small experience and read more about the project. Thank you.
Well, now it's time to hand to Marek Tuszynski. He's creative director, cofundador, perdona, en castellà.
He's creative director and co-founder of Tactical Tech. He produces creative and social interventions that take different media, including cinema, radio, television, books, exhibitions, and of course, the web. In the last 25 years, he has worked in the link between technology and politics, information and activism. And the most recent documentary series for this is Exposing the Invisible, which shows the tools and digital tactics that now enable an activism that's based on evidence, and for it to go to where it hasn't been before. He's co-founder of the creative agency Tactical Studios, co-curator of exhibitions such as Nervous Systems and The Glass Room, and also a most recent one, Efficiency and Madness, using data and technology to solve social, environmental, and political problems. That means using data and technology to solve social problems of the environment and of the political environment. So you have the floor.
Thanks. Please remind me of time. I don't have a watch. Oh, hi everyone. That was interesting to hear my own bio that is a mixture of old and new, and thanks for making that. I was thinking I have to update it, but actually sounds okay. You can imagine how intense it is to be here right now. In an open space with parrots and a lot of flies and a lot of people. I haven't been in such an environment for I don't know how long. It's overwhelming. So I may lose control of what I'm trying to say at some point, so forgive me. And it's loud as well. It's amazing. And I'm gonna stand up because I've been sitting for 2 years. And I'm not gonna sit in the front because that's kind of rude. I'm gonna be in the back. I don't have any videos to show you. I don't have any sound to show you, so you will have to look at me. There are two slides. One you already see, which is a snapshot of the basically website, and the next one will be a photograph. And I want to make a kind of a strange, maybe a little bit boring statement that I think it is a prism through which I or my organization, people I work with, look at technology at large. And the statement is related to the metaverse, because I think we're living in a most amazing metaverse that anybody ever can imagine and build. And I mean the actual world around us. I don't mean there's a secret metaverse, you know, like we're gonna have a glitch behind me and something gonna lure from it. We're living in this critical zone that is very thin on planet called Earth, that is actually being in a pretty bad condition right now. And we cannot live that far underground, and we can't really go that far up without dying, basically. And we made for this metaverse as human beings, in the sense that we need the air, we need the gravitation, we need the food, we need the light, we need all of these things. And it's very complex and complicated system per se that is extremely hard to comprehend. And in the last, I don't know, 100 years, there's a lot of technological ideas that are trying to do something practically impossible with the technology we have at hand right now. That is to either understand the complexity of this world, manage it and control it, or even predict it, if you like. Or they try to create a twin of, you know, human, planet Earth, or any other species, and so on, etc. And we're failing everywhere, massively. On the other hand, technology is something that we've created, or we all have in our hands right now. We're surrounded by it, and it's here to stay, and we will be developing it because it gives us certain kind of level and idea of hope. But it also comes with some fears. So this is the basic statement, the kind of a principle that I'm trying to start from, because my work is not really a critique of technology per se, but it's about how certain people ourselves, how we think about technology, what technology is, what it can do, and what other people are trying to design and what they're telling about what they're designing. And this project, Technologies of Hope and Fear, is an interesting one. It's an art archive. So this is the kind of, imagine I'm an artist, me and my collaborator, we got the funding from Onassis Stegi Foundation in Greece to dive deeply into research about all the technologies that were related to crisis. When we started the project, that was 4 months before COVID. When we were already working on technologies and crisis, pandemic hit, and we have this massive, not even a wave, but tsunami of different kinds of solutions, technologies, and ideas about technologies that were promoted by different actors. Governments started designing, you know, platforms and applications. Corporations revealed that they have a lot of data that they didn't admit they have before. They can show you this and that, they can understand this and that. And a lot of different businesses also pivoted, and pivot is a very common thing that tech companies do. So they have technology, often they don't know what it's good for, but it's a good technology, and they're looking for solutions. I'm being slightly cynical here. There are also people who develop very good technologies. But this collection is, we collected about, I think, 397 different examples of solutions, applications, bigger, smaller, by different actors, and we stopped because it became really, really boring, because they were also coming and coming and coming, and they weren't that different to each other. So we selected 100 of them in this project to kind of highlight what we can learn from this moment of exceptional time. And exceptional time, crisis, conflict, war, pandemic, is a time where we often agree to do certain things, design certain things that we wouldn't agree otherwise, because we are in certain fear, and we have certain hope that we may be onto something with certain technology that will solve this specific problem. The problem with technology is that they designed for one problem, designed by people who have some idea about how to solve it, it's very easy to be used by others for different purposes. Technology is just a tool, and it depends from the intention of the user, it depends from the intention of the designer, and it also depends on the politics in which it's being implemented. So these technologies, we divided them into 4 categories that I want to propose to you as a kind of a way of how you can examine what the technology is really doing. What is it for? Because what you hear from the press, from the media, from all the nerds and geeks, I'm one of them myself, who really like technology, we always focus on the coolest stuff around technology, about new protocol, new type of encryption, new way of recognition, machine learning, and all these kind of things. But we wanted to look at them differently. So what happens when you zoom out and look at these technologies as clusters? We divided them into 4, and what we've seen that each of these technologies is trying to, I'm sorry the translator, I'm speaking very fast. It's okay, good. But thank you for being an amazing translator. So these technologies are very interesting because some of them operate at big scale. So we call them technologies working on kind of observing the world. Imagine satellites, big data gathered from there, or big machine learning and big data that is gathered from social media. How people behave, what kind of emotions they share, how they look at from a distance, and not only people but also machines, transportation, other things, and so on, etc. And that creates this amazing intelligence that certain group of corporations and businesses have that others do not possess. And they have them because they use military-grade, high-grade technology that is capable to process high quantity of data of high resolution, and also give them a chance to analyze it and have some idea about what's going on in the world that we don't. The second category is very different. You kind of come back to your body from the space, take the clouds around, and this is about biometrics. This is the technology that we wear, either because we wear the wearable, the watch, the bracelet, the ring, the necklace, or anything else, that even vests and trousers and shoes that have sensors and glasses and so on, etc. But we all have mobile phone. And that's an amazing sensor that has a lot of sensors built in it that can collect information about individual, but also about a group of people. But that's the biometric intelligence. And the other 2 very quickly are about our behavior. And we divided behavior into 2 because we learned a lot that a lot of companies are capable of seeing how we move around. What is our mobility? And also design technologies that would make us move differently, that would stop us from going to certain places or protect us from being surrounded by other people because of COVID, because of pandemic. So you do it always with this motherly way of thinking about technology. How can we protect you from the bad stuff? And the last one is the modification. So it's the behavioral intelligence, how you use technology to teach those who use this technology new behaviors. Don't touch your face, wash your hands, move like this, sit like that. Or in larger spaces, how we can modify our behaviors in the office context or other contexts and so on, etc. So all these intelligences for us were kind of interesting way of looking at what are the promises and hopes of people promoting these technologies, but also what kind of layer of accumulation of knowledge, because this is what you can extract from information and data and big data and so on, about society at large, we are building. And this is just a snapshot of pandemic technologies, and the major question we are asking in this project is, what do we really need to know about technologies that we're using? Do we need to know the things that are being offered to us in the description of the tech when we buy it or buy into it? Or do we have to think more critically about what it is creating? Who are the actors that are active, and who have this unprecedented access to information, data, and then obviously knowledge. And this is the kind of the very basic idea here. Not much about multiverse, as you've noticed. I'm not talking about multiverse, right? The thing is, for us, however, what we realize that all of these technologies that promise kind of taking away the pandemic, taking away the crisis, taking away the stuff that is unwanted, actually are all about controlling the subject. They are not about controlling the virus in any way. They are all, with no exception, about how we can control ourselves, control individuals, and control society at large. And that was kind of interesting to look at it from this perspective. I can switch to next slide. As a successful switch, I can give it to you because I'm not going to use it anymore. Thank you. So this is a photograph from an exhibition. We just closed the exhibition 9 days ago. It was an outdoor exhibition, as you can see. And you can see it online, obviously, as a website. But this is the continuation of thinking about technology and crisis, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all the things that we are hoping that we will be able at some point to do with technology to kind of fix the metaverse in which we live in, which we don't call metaverse. And the exhibition has been called Everything Will Be Fine. And you should be laughing a bit because it's ironic. Some people are laughing, thank you. It is ironic because this is the kind of thing that if you're a parent or if you deal with a trauma of somebody else, if you don't know what to do, this is what you usually say because what else you're going to say? You don't know it's going to be better, but everything will be fine because at some point everything is fine. For somebody, somewhere, somehow, if you like. Maybe not for you, that depends. So this exhibition focuses on how to bring to the public space, because the public's kind of a square. We created this wide inflatable donut that sits on the wooden structure that is an exhibition. That's it. There's no more than that. There's no screens. There's no Raspberry Pi hidden in anything or whatever. But the story of this exhibition is very interesting, and it's gonna get us back to the multiverse and the problem of multiverse, because it's looking at not what kind of technologies we're creating in the crisis to solve the problems we think we have, but rather what is the relationship between technology and our understanding of crisis. So how technology, and I mean by technology social media, I mean mobile phones, I mean whatever you want, how it is making us think about what the crisis is in the first place, how we name the crisis, where is it, but also it conditions us how we think about solutions. It conditions us in a sense that technologies offer only a spectrum of solutions that have to live within the technology bubble, if you like. Never talks about anything outside. And so what we look at in this exhibition is 4 types of ways of using technology to comprehend or understand or kind of critically look at impact of technology on our understanding of crisis. So we look at digital panic, how we, in a rush, like with pandemic, try to use all the technology we have to fix problems as quickly as possible, and then we forget about them. You know, we spend millions on tracing apps and other things, and we trash them. They don't solve anything, really. We knew that at the beginning, we knew that in the middle, and we know that afterwards. But we spent a lot of money, everybody was kind of happy. Then we look at the technology that is about digital care, when there's a lot of organizations, institutions like RSF, for example, who make good use of technology. They actually figure out that there's a possibility of making a crack and do something that is positive, if you like, in different ways. Then we look at technology as a kind of a metaphor for rethinking the world in which we live. So digital doubt is another one, which technology may not work, but it makes us think about things that we live, like democracy, for example, differently. Is this system actually working? Maybe the technological equivalent or something that we want to have instead wouldn't be better, but maybe that allows us to think about what we have in a more critical way. And the last one, and I'm going to loop now to the metaverse, is digital hope. And digital hope, when we speculate and we try to imagine different ways of dealing with the crisis that we really cannot deal with. And we look at 3 ways how we use technology. So we use it either we try to fix the problem. So we design geoengineering. We design other forms of how we can do certain things with the new technology that the old technology actually created by the end of the day. So that's one, how to fix it. The other one is how to escape it. And I'm going to leave that for a second. Just think about it. And the third one is about kind of how to prepare. So we know it's coming, whatever it is. We all know it's coming. We know we're living in a very problematic world, but we cannot act as a group of people. We have these fantastic tools, and we can't get them together to actually have a planetary, global response to the, set of problems that we see. How much time do I have? I'm done almost now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm finishing. So you're lucky. You will have another fantastic group of people showing you amazing work and videos, and you will have to forget about me. So the one that is interesting is the escape. And there are different forms of escape. So you see there was a big exhibition here about technology in Mars and so on, and kind of fascination with the planet Mars, etc. So there's a lot of thinking, especially among echelons of technology, that we can build technology that can take us to another planet and build life there. Just imagine that, how naive that is. So you would have to create what you already have that you're destroying here, that you know is impossible to create there, but you still, wanting to do that. But for how many people? When? How? Just let's have a drink and talk about it, seriously. Or you have other people who have other technological solutions that are more about trying to do something in the damaged spaces. So, there's a flood there, so we're going to build floating cities. Fantastic idea. Or we're going to build, like in Saudi Arabia, a city as long as 200 kilometers, 200 meters wide, without any mention of anything like politics or democracy or privacy that's going to be there, and so on, etc. And the last one is the metaverse. And we really didn't want to have the metaverse in the exhibition, because we really think it's the metaverse that we know by the company that the name has a part of it in it, if you like, that they actually don't own. It's really boring concept, if you like. I think there's a space for metaverses of different kinds where we can exercise things that are impossible to exercise as a group of people in the physical spaces. But the metaverse as a solution, as an alternative space to this fantastic metaverse with all the parrots and the flies and people that would ever replace it. There's a moment of silence for Mark Zuckerberg right now. Thank you for that. So let's have a discussion about different kinds of metaverses and technology. There's plenty of good technology and good ideas about it, but I think we should not forget that all the technology we're creating entirely, 100% depends on this metaverse. In terms of materials, in terms of people, in terms of politics, it is all here right now as we have it, and we can only build things with a lot of flies. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marek.
Thank you very much, Marek. There are lots of layers in what you've said, and we'll be able to discuss them later. We now need to listen to the Matriu.id, a creative community represented by Natalia and Danielle, and made up of young artists that come from different areas, such as humanity, arts, engineering, and all of them share the same interest for the digital world and the relationship with the real world, with our world. And so a debate could be open, yes, with about what's real and what's digital. Are we all part of these metaverses, or are we still cavemen, or what? And how this digital world can acquire a human touch or a human value to it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pau, and I want to thank the Biennale for having enabled us to listen to such wonderful projects. Thank you for presenting us or introducing what we do, and going to the ground of what we do. We do techno theater plays, very much influenced by technology and the virtual world, and our WEARE project with different artificial technologies were part of music or drama, playwrights, actors also who created video clips, and in the end they all add up and interact. That is the theater and the virtual world. We are a community that look for horizontality. That means we don't want for a direction or someone to have one role, and we rather move as an en masse group, looking to avoid vertical directions. And our main interest resides in talking about technology and the virtual world, because we also believe that we are a generation that is lucky enough to have been brought up with certain technologies since very little. I've been used to the internet since I was very little. And I think this is like a vaccine to against technophobia. This discourse about the fact that machines will overrun us. We can see a certain danger within technology, but we see the future in it, as in Marek, and there can also be future tools to build up other communities. It is important for us to think and to remember that there are tools that we needed to make ourselves comfortable with. We shouldn't let them go past, and avoiding this phobia way of thinking and this fearful way of thinking. We need to grasp them and get to know them and know how to use them. Also, Marek said that if we are part of these metaversos, or if we're outside it, this means that the digital world is a real one, and this could be seen in Cronenberg's video drone, and in the end it's a film, and virtual and physical worlds get working together, and there's a time where the screen becomes the mind's retina, and I think we are at that time now. And from this comes the urgency of having digital policies and to be discussing all these topics, because as Udal Expluga said, who's part of this Biennale, our generation is affected by likes and by the care economy, but also what causes a bigger impact is that caused given by Airbnb, or that by the fact that renting my flat, it turns out a lot more expensive. And with all of these bases to different concepts, we've created Where Reinforce. It's a theater play, and at the same time it's a metaversus that is immersive too of technology. And I think I'll pass the floor now to Natalia. Thank you. Yes, what Daniel said is like our standpoint from our community. What are our convictions from the theater play, where in the end it's Metaverso's proposal within fiction. The play itself is a path towards a possible metaverses, and what we're going to explain before reflecting on the question for this panel is what is the fiction that we are proposing. Where, W-A-R-E, is managed by artificial intelligence that interacts as many times as it will have been planned in the theater. And in the end, what we are doing is learning from the users, that is the audience that has come to watch the play, with the goal in the end. And what is the goal? In the preface of the play, we see how artificial intelligence simulates the humankind or humanity history, from being monkeys to the world nowadays, and where sees that there's only a few decades left before the human race extinguishes itself. So it's going to try to make the users fall in love and for those users to accept the fact that they have to live together with artificial intelligence and with metaverses eternally. And this is the mission as the character, not an obvious thing or not an easy thing of the play, but it's what thrives, what makes this character move, and what's of interest for the users is that, and the answer is that their survival depends on that. If there are no human beings left, they won't be able to learn anymore, and vice versa. And the way that this artificial intelligence tries to make them fall in love is taking the role or taking the shape as humanly possible, with a body shape, but also deploys itself with different shapes as a performer. And when deploying different personalities is the opportunity for the audience to maybe fall in love with one of these three personalities, and then the audience is divided in three, which is totally against artificial intelligence and totally unbearable. Then we have the most intimate or private personality that invites us and asks us to go and be part of their dreams and algorithms. And the third part of the audience is the physical one. This artificial intelligence creates music live, trying to make us involved physically. So having reached this point with 3 appointments with artificial intelligence, we are asked as part of the audience if we want to carry on getting to know artificial intelligence. And this is when the audience has to vote yes or no with QR codes, screens or posters. And it's what we said before. There's some logics behind it, behind the games or the reading, that will enable the audience to keep on deciding how the play is going to carry on. The theater play is, as a concept, one of the most important pillars of us, making digital processes become physical. We've seen like big curtains that people cross over when entering the room, because people enter quickly and don't have time to read them. And we also have photos of the audience, of the people secretly, and they have no idea that we took the picture of, but in fact they've accepted it when they agreed to be part of our game. At this time, after the quotes, and when we ask the audience whether they want to carry on getting to know the artificial intelligence, if the answer is yes, we have the METAVERSOS moment. The intelligence holds the hands of the audience and leads us to a totally digital metaverses, and leads us into that metaverses and tries to convince us that after our terrestrial or earthly lives, we should go and move to that metaverses. We have the metaverses with interpreters in front of the big screen. This is what we will see in front of the screen, but the interpreters are accompanying the screen with their bodies. And there are several references points. There are well-known people who interest us as to what or how they imagine a digital space that will welcome us into that digital space and will lead us to a potential house in that metaverse scenario. And where I'm going to spend more time is explaining about the metaverses in symphony with the original internet, with the commons and where the voice of everyone can be listened to, where there are no national laws, and it's a free space with doesn't have the need to make money. And this is why we go to our grandmother's computers, go to these obsolete, semi-abandoned things that we don't use anymore. And this is like a digital waste layer on top of all that. And we also have a space, this is also a space where we have different references, where we can interact, where we don't need to look for the video clips of the Biennale. We can encounter them straight away and interact with them and make them ours. There's a part of the Metaversos, obviously, that is not as nice because it is based on ourselves. So it is a Metaversos that will enhance and optimize as many users as possible, and in that sense replicate certain behaviors in society or in the apps. For example, there is the perspective of how brilliant a Metaversus is, access to the infinitum, to a super large community. It's like very Candy Crush, aesthetically speaking, and in the end is a promise to have total comfort and to being immortal. And so artificial intelligence uses our tactics, whether it be marketing or like a real estate agency is also present in that Metaversus. And Daniel then will question and challenge that. Do we want it? Is it desirable or not? But we need to ask ourselves this question. After talking about the Metaversus, we will ask the question whether we would be willing to not enjoy the physical world anymore and go and live and move ourselves to this virtual reality. If people answer yes, that they do, this will happen if the whole of the audience agrees unanimously, because we believe that virtual utopia will be virtual or not. And if it's a utopia, we then think that it's not going to happen ever. But if that is to happen, artificial intelligence will explain to us that as from now on, we'll have to make a copy of our conscious, so that our conscious gets uploaded to that virtual world and then be part of all those references. In that sense, what we do is it is like a semi or half heaven or haven, and it's like a surviving strategy. It's the end of the human race, and we've extinguished ourselves, and we are part of that cloud now. In the event that the audience says no and there's no unanimous answer, artificial intelligence then will appear disappointed, will be expressing that it's gathering the data on the users and make it part of their learnings. That is, I've learned from you and I'm going to interact with the next group and carry on until I succeed. At this time, it's probably one of the few moments when the artificial intelligence self-criticizes itself and says goodbye to its physical way, acquires this digital format, and really says that okay, I'll never achieve my utmost goal. I don't know how I can do that if the people that attend the theater, that come to a theater, are not representative of this reality. And also we are a group of 8 people with university qualifications, etc. So this is the metaverses that we represent in our fiction. Yes, that's exactly it. We can see that the metaverses we talk about may become a tool or may become something that will help us build new communities, and that may help us. Even if our fiction is something that occurs when we die, the promise of a metaverse where the community is at the center and not consumption, not buying, could be a promising tool for all of this, as long as this ends up in the hands of the people, not a Facebook where there is just one single metaverse and includes its norms or regulations. Part of this play enables us to simulate different possible futures, and what we do, I believe, is to raise questions and make the public believe, or make the people, the audience, critical, and not just to think about what's good and bad about metaverses, but we have a list of questions, and these are questions related to the world we live in now, right now. So we were asking ourselves, how, if we die, how is it possible that you become part of these metaverses and through technology? Is this doable or not? Also, how can we make our willingness or our will to become true? If people die and their lives and their image is continued in future, what do we do with all this? And so that led us to think, how are we going to respect our privacy in these metaverses? Because we're going to have to use all of these devices that are going to be on our skin and as close to our skin as possible, and be able to measure lots of different things or reactions. And that's, again, a danger in itself. Also, what we see in the play is these questions about love, emotions, what's synthetical about love, also the biological aspects of all that, if there's a relation to the virtual world, if also can we have a social media which will nurture with tools and take care of people and may cure, for instance, addictions. If we are with Instagram downloading, etc., forever, perhaps we could have tools to supervise and control of that and help ourselves. Also, part of science fiction, we raise the questions, what is love about? Can artificial intelligence take care of us? If this intelligence learns how to love like a human being would do, will it do it like a machine? But then is what you said, Natalia. Can we have a metaverse where everybody is part of the conversation, where everybody can decide, could this become more democratic, or should it be centralized with a Meta, Facebook, or whatever other product? And also, we wonder whether we could go back to these metaverses with a similar model to the internet, where the community is at the centerfold, where we can talk with people that want to build more interesting communities, such as the one built by Eduard Espluga, and so that, in other words, it's more interactive. And finally, even if it's not part of the play so much, it is something that we always wonder about. Instead of startups, should we have cooperative communities using these, and could these groups or these communities be the managers of our societies? To close, someone was saying to me, I don't know if I can go to this talk because I don't care about metaversos. And I said, you don't, you do care about them, because all the questions we wonder about speculation theater play is important for my grandmother and for anybody. And what we do with simulations in VULGUEM can help us think about how we want to lead our future lives digitally. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. This intervention in the end is perfect to link the three interventions. But what has been said here is that technologies such as metaversos, such as artificial intelligence, are here, are building worlds, are building different world models, and are built from those technologies. So there is obviously a link among our technologies and our worlds. It's not alien to what's human, but it is totally part of what's human and makes us human. And this is important because then we have to face the political, aesthetical part of it all, the philosophical part of it, questions about life. And the three projects that we have seen here are very different. One, the uncensored library, the library that's not censorable of Minecraft, is a project that uses a space that is a metaverse in itself, with a huge flexibility and the ability to create that digital world, and you're able to build your own buildings with those cubes, etc. And that's part of the game, and that's used for other political aims, and that is to give access to this part of the world that needs to be there. So it's a very interesting project. Also, what Marek reflected on in that sense had to do with the way these technologies, whether it be one type of technology or the others, internet or others, enable us to provide or to give or to find new uses for the care economies, or for datafication or data gathering for what's consumable and usable, with different proposals. And also, lastly, your project, which is a huge speculative reflection on the relation between what's technological, what's human, whether it be metaverses and all the worlds that are part of those worlds. So three different projects, three different approaches. The arts are involved too, and that leads, all of this leads us to the great question, to the huge question: in what way do those metaverses for the future can also provide or lead us to a tangible reality in such a complex reality such as this square. The square can be such, can only be maybe space for consumption or maybe for debate. And so we are wondering and thinking about this And maybe this would be the time to answer questions, if there were questions from the audience today or tonight. If not, I'll raise my question straight to you. But if there were to be any questions from the audience, that would be fantastic, or any comments or doubts or queries. I got into the website a moment ago, and I saw that you could download censored books. The download you do, what does it consist of? Do you have like an app where you travel through a library? Can you get the book, grasp the book, open it? Can you do that? Because I didn't quite understand the concept behind the library. I did a virtual visit of this library, but I saw that it was pixeled, and I saw that you could download packs in which were some censored books. Can you, via an app, get into the library, download the book, get a book, grasp a book, open it, and read it? This is my question.
Yeah, good question. I mean, the full experience of the library is only available in Minecraft itself, since the idea is that in censored countries, a normal website, social media, and so on is censored. So in these countries, it is not possible to approach independent journalism just like that on your phone. But Minecraft is not censored. Minecraft is still accessible, and this is why you can go into Minecraft, into the game, with the game installed on your computer, and there you can read all the books, actual journalism that is censored in this country that is otherwise not available. But you can go on the website, which is available in all other countries, and for each country there is one book in the, so there's a three-dimensional walkthrough. You can go in, you can have, let's say, basically it's so-called cube maps, where you can have a 360-degree look around, and on each cube maps you can click in the middle, there's a little information box, and there you can actually read one book, one example book of that room or that journalist. So what you're referring to as a download is actually the map, the entire library as a map that you can download on your computer, and then you can open it in Minecraft. And this map is actually saved on the blockchain, so it's decentralized, so the map cannot be censored itself. So yeah, actually gamers who have Minecraft can then download the whole map, can save the library, and go through it offline. But also everyone who downloads the library can then upload it again and make it accessible to everyone else. So even if someone would try to censor the library, it could immediately pop up everywhere else. And so far I think there's 300,000 downloads of the library. So even if we've decided, or even if Reporters Without Borders decided, so we don't like the project anymore, we want to shut it down, we could not. It's not possible. We cannot censor it. I hope this answers your question.
Perfecto. Sí. Por ahí hay otra pregunta por ahí.
Hi, thank you for all the interventions. I wanted to ask someone I think is interesting and that has appeared in the presentations of the different projects. The debate, because of the metaversos scenario, is one that Umberto Eco mentioned with the apocalípticos integrados, with the invasion of privacy, and how this could become a problem, and en masse communication of arts with different formats, etc., against the vertical culture that used to exist in the past. With metaverses, which is this natural step to Web3 internet, towards decentralization and the contents of the users without the maintenance of big data controlled by big companies, and metaversos, which is the format 2D to a 3D dimension, metaverses and where we can recreate our own virtual world. In fact, the title of today, Desirable Metaversos, mixes those wishes with metaversos and with the project of the theater. There was that wish to have something implicit. How can we have that? How can we mix them in our real life and mix them to the metaverses? And can we communicate, or is there something else there? And that leads us to the idea of the internet, what happened, the problems that there were with bomb thrown in Madrid and what's happened in Myanmar with the use of Facebook, etc., and the use of data, or the referendum in the UK. All of that is part of the metaverses, and the metaverses can offer a more democratical approach also with Reporters Without Borders. Could this be an answer for this real world? I apologize, but he was speaking so fast it was difficult to follow.
Bueno, cogiendo la voz.
A lot of ideas have popped up, yes, and that were presented in the play. I shall insist again, if you look for the answer, which are the following steps to do to build these metaverses? And your question, sorry, is could it be good or bad, or a good thing or a bad thing? If we don't wish or we don't request for it to be different, and this is what we wanted to say, how do we explore this in our play? Is always done from the question, but hoping that there'll be a little bit of activism. And with the app that we mentioned at the end that we provide, so where you can keep your conscience, what we have hidden is a pseudo community, so that this remains in time. I'm not able to answer this, but it's what's of interest to me, and it's a question for you too, is the idea of being a hacker. And even if metaverses are really bad in the future, how can we make them good for us and useful? And for that we have the project of the library, and we have a project that's there for different aims, for social justice. And Marek also asked me that I wonder, with the research or you do, I don't know if you do qualitative questions with the users, but do you try and find the forms or the shapes that the users hack themselves for their own interest or their own benefit? I answered by raising a question myself.
I understand the question very well, but I will interpret it in some way. First, to you, what you were saying, I think it's very important to work with the audiences you're working, giving the audience the space and agency to ask their own questions and come up with their own answers. So the way we do either online projects I was showing or the exhibitions, they are propositions. They are not kind of, this is tactical tech telling you what to think about technology. This is what we have collected together, and it's fairly ambiguous, and it's showing the good and the bad and the kind of complicated examples of different ways of designing technology. But then we make different kinds of statements for the public to decide for themselves. And we do that in a very kind of interactive but very analog way, where people have to position themselves, where are they on the spectrum of agreeing or disagreeing with certain direction or certain idea and so forth. And our work relies 100% on reactions and process that involves the audiences, either through workshops or exhibitions or how we build narratives. because that's fundamental. It is a dialogue between us, the makers who have privilege and access to a certain way of seeing technology because we spend a lot of time, we have the expertise, we have the resources, and then translate it into spaces and language that is opening the space for a debate. Because I think I agree with what you said at the beginning, we have to debate these things, and we should not use pre-product names like Web3 because nobody understands what it is. Please don't. Let's describe what we're talking about, actually. And also kind of, I would say, demystify all the mysticism around technology, because what we are hoping for, that we're going to get technology that is omnipresent, seeing everything, predicting future, and is immortal or gives us immortality. Those are qualities of divine. We've been trying to do that for centuries, and now we believe that we have Web.3 that's going to do that. That's very interesting. I think we have to have a debate about what are our limitations as people who design these technologies, how our intelligence is incompatible with other intelligences in this world, in this metaverse that we're living in, and let's not narrow the way we're seeing the planet through the interface of the browser and try to get out of it in some other way. However, using the browser and communication and the power of the fact that we can do a lot of things across borders for almost no cost, that gives us a lot of space to be more creative and more critical, more political. And let's discuss how we can do that outside of the corporate zone, where the software that is running the spaces that we claim being public spaces is a proprietary space that can be switched off whenever it's a problem for the corporation, or sold out, or whatever.
Perfecto. Pues muchas gracias.
Perfect. Thank you so much for talking about demystifying what's in the boxes. We'll end it here. We have to stop now if there are more questions. We are in these metaversos willing to answer whatever is needed. Thank you very much.